South Africans await the announcement of President Ramaphosa's national executive, who will make up his new cabinet under a GNU arrangement. This new cabinet will shape South Africa's future and also set the tone for Ramaphosa's presidency going forward. So, for more, political analyst Brutus Malada is going to be joining us virtually to weigh in further as we await that announcement, a decision based on the prerogative of the president himself. Brutus, good morning on that note. Thanks for your time at the SABC at this hour.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
I actually just want to start off by getting your reaction. We now know that 10 political parties have joined the Government of National Unity arrangement under Clause 24. Looking at how that's now obtained 70% of the vote, speak to the dynamics unfolding, perhaps also the news that Orania will be recognized by the ANC as a condition that they have accepted.
Yeah, look, we have come to this point because no party could get a simple majority out of these elections. And as a result, parties have to coalesce to form a government. It will be much better if they can reach at least that 70%, because then it can guarantee the cohesion in the GNU. If the numbers were just above 50%, it would create unnecessary instability, as we've witnessed in the local government. So it augurs very well for more parties to join, so that the GNU is composed of a majority of parties in parliament.
So because there are new dynamics also entering the fray this time around, there are obviously do's and don'ts and implications as a result. Perhaps you could speak to the issues that come to the fore and how they need to be looked at. I mean, we obviously need to ensure that there is stability of government, but there are also questions about whether the ANC itself is going to split. Can they afford to leave out Paul Mashatile as a deputy president, appoint John Steenhuisen from the DA as deputy? But ultimately, these have implications. Talk to us about what's unfolding on that front from your vantage point.
Yeah, look, it will be a grave mistake for President Cyril Ramaphosa to exclude Paul Mashatile for two reasons. One, the ANC will be seriously divided, and it will give Paul Mashatile the opportunity to go and mobilize in the ANC. And as you know, the ANC Congress is coming in the next 2 years or so. And that would necessitate a process that we witnessed with Thabo Mbeki being recalled and Jacob Zuma being recalled before they completed their terms. So should Paul Mashatile not be appointed, there is a possibility that the next Congress of the ANC, if it elects him, he may move for a recall of the president. And that will create the very same instability that we witnessed when Thabo Mbeki was removed and when Jacob Zuma was removed. So it doesn't augur well for a President Ramaphosa not to include John Steenhuisen. At the second level is the issue that when you have a deputy, that person necessarily acts on your behalf when you are away. And in case of a president who is incapacitated for one reason or the other, the deputy has to take over. So the narrative that the ANC will have to sell out there will be very difficult for the campaigns coming in the next local government elections, as well as the next cycle of the national elections. It would be as if the ANC has handed over power back to white leadership, and that will be very problematic for the ANC. There's nothing wrong with a white deputy president. What would be much better would be to create two deputies and have a deputy from one of the political parties in the GNU and a Paul Mashatile in there. That will create the stability in the ANC, which will also create stability in government.
I'm sure those dynamics are being carefully considered. I actually want to also then delve into possibilities and probabilities, as well as terms and conditions. Perhaps shining a spotlight on the authority of the office of the president that's coming to the fore, just the impact that obviously the authority or the office is going to have for the president at large to hold ministers accountable. I'm asking this because, I mean, there are possible scenarios that could unfold. Allegiances of ministers regrouping with their political parties is one such example. Parties are also competing. And so this naturally begs the question about where their loyalties lie at large. Talk to us about that scenario unfolding.
Yeah, look, it will be very difficult to maintain the cohesion in the GNU. And parties that would have more ministries under their control, they are likely going to coalesce together. We have witnessed in the city of Johannesburg, where the DA and Action SA were in a coalition, but you would necessarily see at some point 3 MMCs of Action SA coalescing together as if it's a parallel government, and DA MMCs working together as a group. That is very problematic because you create a parallel government within a government. So, but these political parties, as they enter into the GNU, they should also still maintain their own independence, and they have to compete even for votes in the next local government elections. So this will be very tricky for a president such as Cyril Ramaphosa to maintain stability of his own cabinet, but also to crack the whip and make the ministers accountable. So all of those things need to be regulated. Without a regulatory framework for coalitions and the GNU, it will be very difficult for the president to keep his cabinet together.
And so, Brutus, on that note, we've seen some wish lists circulating or sentiments being echoed allegedly. Talk to us about, what you've seen regarding the ANC, the DA, the Patriotic Alliance, even just looking at some of the key ministerial positions, retaining Dr. Naledi Pandor, for instance, as International Relations Minister at a time where South Africa is set to host G20 next year. What should be considered on that front?
Look, this moment is a very tricky moment for those who are negotiating for this GNU. One, if you are a president, you would need to have certain ministries under your control to the extent that they must be under the leadership of your own political party. Otherwise, you become a lame duck president. For instance, there is a ministry such as Treasury. There is a ministry such as international relations, as you have mentioned, state security, defense, police. You can't afford to have those ministries under someone else because then you become a lame duck president. So we would have to wait and see how Ramaphosa will juggle all of this and maintain the ANC really in control of the GNU. But the suggestion, such as one made by the PA, that they've campaigned on the ticket of Abahambe, the immigration issue, it's very, very problematic because it means that political parties would wish to implement their own manifestos. What needs to happen is that the parties need to tabulate their own differences and the areas of commonality or common interest, and then put those before any other thing and implement what is necessarily closer to what the Constitution advocates for. If parties are allowed to implement their own manifestos, it will be chaotic in that government.
Brutus,
but a person such as
let me just come in there for the interest of time, because I know it's not an impossible task also obviously going forward for our country, because there are some internal trends that we can analyze and best practices on the continent and even the world over. Kenya comes to mind, Germany as well. Just very quickly, in terms of maintaining a cohesive and sustainable coalition, what would you express on that front as we wrap?
Yeah, the unfortunate part of us is that we do not have an existing legislative framework to manage the coalitions. What we have is an initiative that has been made by COGTA, but it was focusing on local government. What we would like to see, what is being advocated by lobby groups, is that we should have a framework such as the Germans have. But in the German situation, it is such that they are able to negotiate all these permutations for up to 3 months or so before they actually form a government post an election. And they agree on those principles beforehand. And Germany has been stable despite the fact that it has been under coalitions. The Kenyan situation is the same in the sense that they also have a legislative framework that governs coalitions. We need to move in that direction where we must create a legislative framework that can manage coalitions to avoid things such as motions of no confidence that are unnecessary, that are frivolous, which can necessitate instability in government. We can't afford to have premiers changing now and then, or even a president inaugurated today and 6 months later he is removed. So you need to regulate that process and say, in the space of 2 years, there should not be any motion of no confidence that is frivolous, unless a president has committed a grievous,
Brutus,
it's a case of a...
No, absolutely. Brutus, we're obviously awaiting with bated breath the country, the world over, as dynamics unfold. But let's leave that conversation there for now. Thank you for your time at the SABC at the Sound for weighing in. Brutus Malada, political analyst, weighing in as we await the new cabinet announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa. We do know that the decision will affect the future of the nation and, of course, his tenure as president at large. Thanks to Brutus for his time on the SABC.